Look, most of you probably think you know exactly what a forest is, don't you? You picture this nice, charming little collection of thousands of individual, independent trees, all just organically growing next to each other in the dirt. I mean, it's a very cute, naive assumption. But today, we're going to look at something that is going to completely challenge your basic understanding of biology. Welcome to this explainer where we're diving into something so incredibly massive, it literally shatters our very definition of what a plant can be.
All right, let's just dive right into this. If you were taking a hike through the Fish Lake National Forest in Utah, you'd gaze around at all these beautiful quaking aspens and think you were surrounded by a typical sprawling forest of thousands of distinct trees. But the reality? You would actually be standing right on top of one single 13 million pound monster of an organism. That entire 106-acre biological masterpiece? Yeah, it's just one living thing.
Biologically speaking, what you're actually looking at here is a clonal colony. See, nature doesn't always rely on seeds to spread. What looks to the naked eye like 47,000 individual tree trunks are actually just stems, scientifically known as remnants. And researchers have extensively tested and confirmed that every single one of these stems shares the exact same genetic identity. So they aren't neighbors, okay? They're limbs. They are all connected by one single massive underground root system that perfectly manages defenses and resources in absolute sync across the entire colony.
To really grasp this, you've got to wrap your head around the sheer mind-numbing scale we're talking about here. 13.2 million. While the giant redwoods get all the textbook glory for being the tallest trees on the planet, Pando takes the crown for sheer biological mass. At 13.2 million pounds, this makes Pando the heaviest living organism ever discovered on Earth. It is a true heavyweight champion hidden right beneath our boots.
Let's put that absurd weight into perspective for a second. To match the mass of this single, stationary plant, you would nearly 200 World War II Sherman tanks. 200! Just picture a platoon of totally bewildered soldiers staring up at a bunch of leaves, realizing that a single plant outweighs their entire armored division. It's honestly almost comical how massive this single organism is.
And this brings us to its modern identity. The name Pando wasn't just chosen by accident. Back in 1992, a scientist named Michael Grant gave the tree this nickname. Pando is actually a Latin word that literally translates to "I spread." And it's a fascinating little glitch in biological history, really, because the clone was first recognized for what it was back in 1976 by other researchers. But it was Grant's remarkably fitting nickname in '92 that caught on, and it eventually became the official scientific identifier for this global phenomenon.
But honestly, the weight isn't even the most staggering part. It's the insane age discrepancies. Look at a single trunk, or stem, and you'll see it only lives for about 100 to 130 years. But that underground root system? That thing is practically immortal. The most conservative estimates say this root system has been spreading for 16,000 years, dating all the way back to the end of the last ice age. Mid-range estimates? They place it at 80,000 years. Some researchers even believe it could be 1,000,000 years old. Every time a trunk dies, the roots just keep going, casually surviving era after era.
To really flex Pando's prehistoric survival skills, you just have to look at its old neighbors. If those older age estimates are accurate, this organism is a living witness to a world that literally doesn't even exist anymore. This exact same root system was already growing and thriving when massive Ice Age animals, we're talking the Columbian mammoth and the giant ground sloth, were wandering blindly across the Utah landscape. Pando has survived monumental climate shifts that have completely wiped out entire species. So how does something survive that long? Well, it turns out it has an incredible defense mechanism against one of nature's most destructive forces, fire. Wildfire scientists actually refer to quaking aspens as an asbestos forest. Because the trees are incredibly water-heavy, they naturally resist catching fire. But listen to this. Even when a truly catastrophic blaze manages to level the surface, Pando simply regenerates from its deeply protected underground root system. It essentially uses that massive root structure as an energy bank, consistently regenerating and thriving on that underground stability.
Now, most people actually know Pando by its other nickname, the trembling giant. And the physics behind that are absolutely fascinating. The leaves of the quaking aspen possess these very distinctive flattened stems known as petioles. These unique petioles catch the air in such a way that they induce a quaking, fluttering rustle in even the absolute slightest breeze. So when the wind hits the forest, all 47,000 interconnected leaves move mechanically at once. It essentially acts as a massive biological speaker system, audibly announcing the giant's presence across all 106 acres.
Actually, I want to pause for just a second here. Seriously, think about this.
If you were a single, isolated organism that had been alive for up to 80,000 years, would you feel like a sprawling, vibrant forest, or would you just feel incredibly lonely? I know, it's a philosophical question, sure, but it perfectly sets up the reality of Pando's bizarre reproductive biology.
Because the truth is, Pando is effectively a biological loner. It has survived all these millennia by entirely skipping sexual reproduction. Instead of relying on seeds, it reproduces through a highly efficient process called suckering. Step 1, the massive root network spreads horizontally underground. Step 2, those roots send up new, fresh shoots that are completely genetically identical to the parent tree. It is an evolutionary masterstroke that allows Pando to survive in arid, harsh conditions where traditional seeds would just fail to germinate.
But, that evolutionary masterstroke comes with an ultimate biological irony. Pando is, in its entirety, a single male organism. It is completely unable to produce seeds without a female counterpart nearby. Because it is totally alone out there, it relies strictly on cloning itself over and over and over again just to continue existing.
Which unfortunately brings us to a rather devastating present-day reality. We are currently seeing a sharp, alarming decline in the number of young, regenerating shoots, right alongside an overabundance of aging, mature trunks. We are currently facing an ungulate crisis. It is a tragic irony, really, that this incredible organism, which confidently survived the brutal extremes of the Ice Age, is currently failing to regenerate.
And the culprits bringing down this prehistoric giant? Well, it's not a meteor and it's not a glacier. No, it's local herbivores. Overbrowsing by mule deer and elk is acting as the ultimate threat to Pando's survival. These completely oblivious little deer are hungrily devouring the tender young shoots long before they can ever grow into matured trunks. They are systematically eating the future of the organism, leaving behind a dying forest full of old grandparents with absolutely no children to replace them. Because of this, the situation is dire. Strict human intervention and physical fencing are now the absolute only ways to save this prehistoric giant. Without massive fences to actively stop the local herbivores from eating the new growth, this ancient, sprawling survivor won't be taken out by dramatic climate shifts. No, it's just going to be eaten to death. It will eventually die of old age simply because it was stripped of its ability to clone itself.
When you step back and look at the whole picture, it truly defies comprehension. We are talking about a single plant that weighs more than a battalion of armored tanks, a biological wonder with thousands of trembling leaves, hiding one unified genetically identical root system that has quietly shared the earth with mammoths. So a 13-million-pound tree that has been spreading for 16,000 years is currently fighting for its life. Now that's absolutely wild. It forces us to ask, will we step up and build the barriers necessary to protect this ancient king, or will we simply stand by and watch the world's heaviest survivor become just another fossil?